Okay, let's talk about the homework. So you guys did this homework after you took your test. So we actually did the notes for you guys last week, but some of you guys, we actually did the notes today. So let's talk about what we're doing. Point slope form, and you're converting it into slope intercept form. So the big deal here, of course, is distribution. You're going to have to distribute the negative 2/3 x times the negative 6. Over here I did the work in case you were struggling with the fractions. 2/3 times 6 gets you a 12/3, and you should reduce that down to a 4. Why is it a plus 4? Well, negative 2/3, negative 6, two negatives make a positive. So you've got plus 4, subtract your 1. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. That is your answer in slope-intercept form. Number two has an interesting thing going on right there that we're going to talk about later on today when we get to the notes. So right there you have a slope of 0. This should make things really easy. If you multiply by 0, everything on that side becomes 0. And so all you have to do is add that 7, and you get y equals 7. Number 3. So when you get to number 3, hopefully it shows up that you don't have an answer for slope. You have points, but no slope. So finding your slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Plug those in, you have negative 4/2. Divide or simplify that, and you end up with a negative 2. It doesn't matter which point you picked. You could pick negative 3, 4. You could pick negative 1, 0. Either of those get plugged into point slope form and changed. Now strategically, it usually is easier to pick the ones that have a 0 in it because zeros are just easier to work with. But that's up to you, whichever point you picked. But everybody should have ended with y equals negative 2x minus 2. Number 4 was the same work. Find your slope. So you have negative 3 minus a negative 5, so that's plus 5, and then 6 minus 2. So you have 2/4, which is 1/2. Again, pick either point. I chose 6, negative 3. You can do it with 2, negative 5. It doesn't matter. That's up to you. You plug it in, and you get an answer of y equals 1/2 x minus 6. Number 6. Oh, no, I skipped. Number 5. You have to graph the line. What you should identify is that its form is in point slope form. Point slope form. So pull out your slope, that would be your 3. Then you need to pull out your point. When you pull out your point, this is your x value. But your x value is going to be opposite of what it looks like, so negative 2. Then you pick out your y value, again, always opposite of what it looks like, so positive 6. Plot this point, negative 2, positive 6. So that's where you start. A slope of 3, you're going to go down 3 and left 1 because that's two negative motions. Down is negative and left is negative. Two negatives will make that into a positive motion. Or if you don't want to, you could go up 3 and right 1, but then you're off your graph and you don't have any more space. So you could do that. You could make your graph bigger, but I'm guessing you're just going to go down 3 and left 1, down 3 and left 1. 6, same idea. Slope is 1/2. Point is negative 8, negative 1. My apologies, it doesn't really fit on the graph that I gave you. So you did have to make your graph a little bit bigger. So you're at negative 8, negative 1. Up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, and you can keep going up 1 and right 2 a bunch. Number 7, hopefully you didn't get tricked by this one. Your slope is 3, your x value is 2, but over here there is nothing for y, which makes the y a 0. So your point is 2, 0, because there's nothing on the y. Plot the point 2, 0 over here, and then you go up 3 and right 1, up 3 and right 1. Now for what I think is a good challenge. You have to write the equation. Again, there are different answers that you could have depending on which point you pick. There are points 1, 2, there's 4, 1, and you could pick other points. You could pick negative 2, 3 if you wanted. That's up to you. So pick whichever point you want. Identify slope. Now, you should catch that your line is falling. So if your line is falling, you should have negative slope, so a negative 1/3, and then pick your point. This is what I picked. If you picked 4, 1, if you picked 1, 2, you'd have a different answer. You would have y minus 2 equals negative 1/3 x minus 1. It's all okay no matter what point you picked. Same thing for number 9. Pick any of your points. Again, your line is falling, so your slope should be negative. Hopefully you caught that. And so I picked the point 1, 4, or 1, negative 4. So y plus 4 is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 1. Write the equation in standard form. You should have been subtracting the 2x. So negative 2x plus y equals 3. Then the problem with this one is that first term is not supposed to be negative. I did not go far enough. My apologies. So I hope you did better than I did. You should have multiplied all of that by a negative 1 to move that negative. And so your actual answer should be 2x minus y is equal to negative 3. So hopefully you caught that. Number 11. A line that passes through the point 3, 7 and has a slope of 4. What information did you have? You had a slope and a point. So you had to plug it into point slope form first, which is right here, distribute, move everything around, and end at a final answer. Again, you guys should have multiplied by negative 1 to get rid of the negative. I didn't. I'm sorry about that. So your answer really should be 4x minus y equals 5. So hopefully you did that. A line that passes through these points. Again, think of what you have. In this, you have 2 points. So what are you missing? Your slope. So you should have found your slope. Picked either point, and they both have zeros, so it should have been easier. Pick them, plug them in. Here's the problem. We talked about this. A, B, and C are not allowed to be fractions. The word we use is that A, B, and C have to be integers. So how do you get rid of those fractions? You need to multiply by the denominator. So you have to take this 3, see that's your denominator right there, and distribute it to all 3 pieces. Negative 2x plus 3y equals 6. That's proper form. Again, with the negative, you should have multiplied and moved it. So 2x minus 3y is equal to negative 6 if you get rid of that negative. Again, I did the fraction work over here. So it's 2/3 times 3 over 1, 6 over 3, which is the same as 2. So that's where that 2 is coming from when you multiply with fractions. Graphing in standard form. Find the x-intercept, find the y-intercept. X-intercept you find by letting y equal 0. The y-intercept you find by letting x equal 0. Plot those 2 points. Same thing for 14. Your x-intercept should be over here at 8, and your y-intercept should be over here at negative 2.3. That's one of those times that I think that decimals are okay. It's easier for you to plot a negative 2.3 than it is for you to plot a negative 16 over 7. So actually do the division, take out your calculator, do that kind of work. 15, this was the challenge question. This was hopefully not too hard and doable for you. So a company discovers that if they sell cakes at a price of $20 and sell 42 cakes each month, if they lower the price, they can sell 52 cakes each month. Find a linear equation to model the price quantity sold relationship. So if the first question asks you to find slope, you have to have points. They didn't give you any points, so you had to make up your own. So X is cost and Y is cakes. X would be cost, Y would be cakes. Why is it that way? X is your input, so the cost determines how many cakes you sell. The cost, the number of dollars you're spending or charging, is going to determine how many cakes you sell. So once you decide that X is cost and Y is cakes, that's a huge help. Then you can look here, $20 for cakes, 42 cakes, 2042. $10, 52 cakes, 1052. So that's where you get two ordered pairs from. I understand, huge challenge. If you didn't do this, I would write it in because my guess is some of you need to practice this. If you go then and plug it into your slope formula, now that you have points, you should get a slope of -1. 52 minus 42, 10 minus 20, 10 over -10 is equal to -1. In a little bit, we'll talk about why that's negative, but it definitely makes sense that it's negative. Okay, next question says, use the point slope form and one of the points to write an equation. Doesn't matter which point? Nope, never does. Pick one of the points and use your slope. So I chose 2042. Plug it in there. Plug in the -1, that's point slope form. Next step, change it. Distribute the -1, add the 42. Y is equal to -1x plus 62. We're almost there. So, interpret the slope and y-intercept. The y-intercept is 62 because if they gave away the cakes, literally did not make people pay, they would give away 62 cakes. That's what the y-intercept means. That's up here. What does the slope mean? -1. For every $1 the cost goes up, the number of cakes goes down. So fewer cakes, more money. Fewer cakes, more money. Fewer cakes, more money. And you can keep going down that way. Okay? So if the cost goes up, they sell fewer cakes. That's why it's negative. It's not both going up, right? If the cost goes up, you're not going to buy it or you're not going to sell as many because people aren't going to pay that much for those cakes. So that's why it's decreasing. That's why you have a negative slope. I understand that last one was a big challenge. I'm sure in the next couple of days we'll do another one like that. And be prepared in case maybe you see one of those on an assessment someday. All right. I hope you did well on that homework. Yeah, next up will be notes. So go ahead and get ready to take some notes for the day.